I never knew the cameras, because this took place right from, they never want to show how massive our crowd was. You know the biggest crowd I've ever seen? January 6th. And you never hear that. It was the biggest, and they were there largely to protest a corrupt and rigged and stolen election. It's the biggest crowd, and you never hear that. They said, how was the call? Did you feel intimidated? No, he made a perfect call. He thanked me. He congratulated me for getting elected. He didn't do anything wrong, so I remember that. But we made perhaps an even more perfect call to the Secretary of State of Georgia, which is my right. And in fact, the call was so perfect that the many lawyers, we had like 7 or 8 lawyers on the call on both sides, and other people on the call never expressed even the slightest bit of anger or outrage at what I said. They didn't say, that's horrible. That's a horrible thing you said. We must hang up immediately because we cannot understand that. We had many people on the call. I assumed the call was taped. And I guess there were 6, 7, or 8 lawyers on the call. There was no protest. There was no one saying, how dare you say such a thing? You know why? Because it was a perfect call. It was only long after that that the subject was broached. Months later, they said, oh, he made a call. Very fortunately, it was on tape. If there were a problem, they would have, you know what? They would have gone absolutely crazy. They would have gone absolutely crazy, and they would have come after me. But the phone was hung up, and everybody was happy. In fact, they agreed to meet. Let's meet again soon. Because all we were doing was protesting a fake and dirty and rigged election. That's all we were doing. When will they investigate and prosecute Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, George Bush, and look into what took place with George Bush's father, a very nice man, and the warehouse of documents? And what about Barack Hussein Obama? Are they under potential prosecution? I don't think so. I don't think they are.
We're at the point now where Donald Trump is bragging about his crowd on January 6th. And look, Trump bragging about crowd size is nothing new. The guy's desperation for adulation is as predictable as it is pathetic. But to point to January 6th is all the proof you need that not only does he have no remorse about what happened on that day, he is proud of it. Which is the umpteenth example that when it comes to using violence as a political tool, Republicans are all in. For them, January 6th wasn't a mistake, it's a holiday. It was a success. The people in prison for January 6th are martyrs for them. And having the leader of that party out there still, to this day, recalling it fondly, is all the proof you need that January 6th is a point of pride and will serve as a blueprint for Republicans in the future. And if you're wondering why Trump would continue to promote the events of January 6th while under federal investigation for exactly that, it's because his priority isn't trying to win in court, although he's making his tepid efforts to do exactly that. His priority is trying to win in the court of public opinion. Think about it. The same way that Trump manipulated half of the country with the big lie leading up to the 2020 election, he's now rewriting history when it comes to the January 6th by peppering his supporters over and over and over with this idea that January 6th was patriotic. And he'll repeat this, and his mouthpieces will repeat this, knowing full well that he can use that to try and undermine the DOJ's investigation because now it'll seem too political. It's all a coordinated campaign with one ultimate goal: to protect Donald Trump at all costs and prevent him from being held accountable for his crimes. And the same goes for his call with Brad Raffensperger. It's the exact same strategy. Trump does something glaringly, overtly, egregiously illegal, like telling the Georgia Secretary of State to find exactly one more vote than he lost by, and then peppers his supporters with this idea that it's a, quote, perfect phone call. The goal here is to normalize that behavior so that not only does it not seem incriminating, which it is, but that it ultimately seems perfectly acceptable. Again, this is all done with one goal in mind: to protect Trump from being held accountable for his own criminality. Which brings me to what I think is the most dangerous part of this rally, where Jim Marchant, the Republican candidate for Secretary of State in Nevada, said this.
Is this the greatest president in American history or not? So, we have something in common. President Trump and I lost an election in 2020 because of a rigged election. I've been working since November 4th, 2020 to expose what happened. And what I found out is horrifying. And when I'm Secretary of State of Nevada, we're going to fix it. And when my coalition of Secretary of State candidates around the country get elected, we're going to fix the whole country. And President Trump is going to be president again in 2024. Secondly, last year I established a MAGA, America First coalition of Secretary of State candidates around the country. And I'm speaking mainly now for the people that are watching live stream and on TV. We're going to elect Mark Fincham in Arizona and Kerry Lake in Arizona. They are MAGA. We're going to elect Christina Caramo in Michigan. She's one of our coalition members. Audrey Trujillo in New Mexico. Chuck Gray in Wyoming. Diego Morales in Indiana. If we get Kayla Campbell in Massachusetts, believe it or not, if we get all of our secretaries of state elected around the country like this, we take our country back.
There it is, that he's part of a coalition of Republican Secretary of State candidates whose sole goal is to, quote, fix the whole country and make sure that Trump is installed as president. Now look, I know the Senate races and gubernatorial races are sexy and they raise a lot of money, but we ignore these Secretary of State races at our own peril. Secretaries of State are the people responsible for certifying elections, and these people are broadcasting on the Republican side that they will not certify any election if a Democrat wins. That's not just a possibility, it's what their entire platform is predicated on. If these people are on stage with Donald Trump, it's not by accident. For as bumbling as Donald Trump is, he knows how to surround himself with loyalists. And if a Secretary of State candidate is appearing with Donald Trump, there is a very clear reason why. So recognize that just because Donald Trump isn't personally on the ballot this November, doesn't mean that he's not on the ballot in a different way. What he's doing is setting the stage for his own 2024 run, both by installing an infrastructure that's loyal to him at all costs, and by diffusing any and all efforts to hold him accountable for his past crimes. This is a party that's discarded any pretense that it stands for anything other than blind fealty to Donald Trump. They're saying it proudly, they're saying it publicly. So if you were one of those people who turned out in 2020 to ensure that the most dangerous person in this country's history didn't hold on to his grip on power, and you're not sure whether you're going to turn out again in 2022, just know that the same person is essentially still on the ballot. Maybe not by name, but the people who are running to serve him are. So make sure you have a plan to vote, because democracy is on the ballot even more so than in 2020. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.